in whatever capacity, is going to be giving you any advice, counsel, or specific trading directions on any particular trades. This is education. This is training. This is practice, if you will. And so in this educational process, don't construe any of that as direct advice. We say that disclaimer just because when people are hungry for knowledge, they're hungry for help, it's very possible to kind of latch on and just follow things by rote and say, well, I'm not going to think for myself. I'm just going to follow what that person does and do whatever they say. Well, I get that. I get the sentiment. But the truth is that that's not a good way to learn. That's not a good way to acquire the skill that you're looking for. And consequently, we don't do that. All right. So I'm trying to load up a slide deck right here that I just accidentally closed. It was weird. I was trying to move it from one screen to another screen, and it literally closed it. So I didn't mean to do that. So let me just a second. There we go. And we will begin from the beginning. There we go. All right, my friends, I'm going to share out the screen to you. Get back to the try that one. Or not. Hang on. I kind of messed my screen up. There we go. There we go. This will stop other screen sharing. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. I do. All right, folks, give me there you go. Somebody give me an old thumbs up here if you can see. Let me get to the. If you can see the screen. No screen being shared yet. Sure thought it was. Let's try this again. All right, how about this? It says that you are screen sharing. Yay. All right, here we go. All right, folks, here's the events coming up. We've got always amazing content by Rob. This just continues to get better and fuller all the time. I absolutely salute him for the effort that it takes to produce good, valuable content every day. And it's amazing. I have a small little contribution here and I'm happy to do it. But I salute Rob for all of the amazing effort that he does and what goes into this. So pay attention, take advantage. Excuse me. And there is the man. And this is the slide I wanted to have up when I talked about this. The great freebies, like the Great Gatsby, the great freebies, all of these things. Again, the amazing content that Rob puts out. Take advantage of it, guys. Please, my gosh, take advantage of it. I saw in the introduction, or not introduction, but one of the email comments that went out that it had it listed today for charting. And that's not true. It's my fault for not getting the content emailed properly. I just didn't get it emailed properly in time for it to have the information out to you. But I'm doing a presentation today that is an adaptation of one that I did over a year ago. And if you've been with me very long, you know that I quote often the education model, the absolute proven education model, that it takes 5 to 7 times over the same material before you truly absorb it, before you internalize it. And so when somebody goes over something with you and you go, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. It's tempting for the person who gave the information to go, okay, I did my job, they got it. Because technically they did in the moment, but they really didn't get all of it. And they certainly aren't going to retain even the part that they thought they got. So 5 to 7 times. Think about it. 5 to 7 times saying, oh, okay, now I got it. Now I got it. Thank you. That's great. I got it. I got it. 5 to 7 times of saying that before you actually do. That's crazy, but it's true. So I never apologize for going over good stuff repeatedly. I just don't want to do it too often. You bore people. But when you go back over something and you're going, oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. So now you're getting back a confirmation of something you knew was good, but you didn't retain it because this is like, oh, yeah. You're right. Okay. So what would have happened had you not gone over it? Well, you would have stayed in the ignorant bliss state of mind where you go, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. What do you remember about it? Well, okay. I'm not specific, but it was really good. What was really good? I don't know. It was just, so you knew it was good. You just didn't retain what you thought you did. And so that's why we go over things. Now, Lou Graham and Mick Jones are the two brainchilds, if you will, behind the group Foreigner. And a lot of you guys are old enough to recognize and have some appreciation for Foreigner. They did some great ballads, amazing ballads. But one of the songs that they did was called Head Games. And I like the title of it. And I'm picking out one line of the song as kind of an introduction to what we're going to be talking about today. If you want to win, you got to learn how to play those head games. It's a great song. Their best song, in my mind, was I Want to Know What Love Is. Just amazing. Great story behind that song. But anyway, we're talking about head games today. And when we're talking about head games, yeah, it's another visit to the idea of the psychology, the mindset aspect of trading. And I'm going to get rather technical with you today because I'm going to give you some things that are profound, in my opinion, and they are applicable to everything you do in your life. Trading is just one thing you do in your life. And guys, I'm a believer in the added, what's it called? Not added, not an additive. What it was? It starts with an A. Anyway, it's a colloquialism. Somebody come up with that word for me. Anyway, I am a big fan of the thing that says how you do anything is how you do everything. Now think about that. That's so profound. I know you know that in your core, but think about that because this is a relevant introduction to what we're going to talk about today. How you do anything is how you do everything. We tend to be real strong creatures of habit. And the things that I'm going to talk to you today are going to wind up being resolved in how you apply it to trading. But it's not going to go to trading right away. So I'm going to warn you right now. You're going to get some good information that is going to help you understand these head games, the challenges that we have between our two ears. And you will figure out how it relates to trading. And I'll give you some ideas on how to apply it to trading. Adage. Thank you, Michael. I knew the word. It was right. Not additive. It's not an additive. It's an adage. Thank you. All right, here we go. All action, guys, is driven by emotion. Now, that could be argued that some subconscious actions like breathing is not driven by emotion. Well, okay, I'll concede that. Although if you stop breathing, an emotion is created that helps you start breathing again. Just saying. Emotion, the driver of motion. Motivation. Why we do the things that we do. Subconscious beliefs, guys. There is the fastest chef in the universe can mix up a recipe, bake it, and serve it at 280 miles per hour, which is virtually instantaneous, right? I mean, you would experience it almost instantaneous. That's faster than the Jetsons that I grew up with as a cartoon, where they could tell Rosie, their computer robot, make me a sandwich. And you go beep, 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 and it would spit out a sandwich, right? But the fastest chef in the world can mix up a recipe, bake it, serve it at 280 miles an hour. That's what happens inside your brain. That is how fast you can react on beliefs or input. If you step on something sharp, your body receives that signal on your toe or somewhere on your foot, sends it up to the brain, processes it, evaluates the proper action, sends out a recipe on which muscles have to move, when, how far, how fast, in order to get away from that pain. And it does it at 280 miles an hour. That's how fast your reflex is. Okay. That can be a response to a stimulus of a sharp tack. It can be to the response of the stimulus of a look. Someone gives you a look. Someone says a word. Something flashes on a computer screen. You can mix up the recipe, bake it, serve it up at 280 miles an hour. That's an amazing feat that happens between your two ears. Okay. I'm going to give you two images here, and then we'll refer to these a couple times as we go through. On the left, I am going to risk all kinds of ire, perhaps, in our wokening world, which I hope wakes up and gets rid of. I have very strong feelings about wokeism, all right? And they're not positive. This is something that has come under an amazing attack. The difference between pink associated with women, you can't do that. Blue associated with boys, oh, you can't do that. That's sexist. Okay, call me what I am. And guys, I'm 70 years old. I turned 70 2 weeks ago. All right. I don't care anymore. Not sure how much I cared in the first place. All right. I've learned enough to where that kind of stuff it rolls off my back. It's science. The science is immutable. And yet the sociologists want to say, forget science. We want things to be the way we want just because we want them. So forget science. But this is a representation of some of the realities that male brains and female brains are actually different in the ways that they process. Neither one is better. Neither one has any more neurons than the other one. They both have the same, but they're different. And you can't change that with sociology, nor can you explain it away with sociology. I'll give you some examples, fascinating, a little bit later. The one is the next one to the right is the Archillian galaxy. What the heck's an Archillian galaxy? If you watch Men in Black with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, that little amulet that hung around somebody's neck, I forget, the value of that everybody was chasing was there was a whole galaxy inside that little tiny, what is it called? Pendant. Inside that little pendant, there was an entire galaxy. The Archillian galaxy was inside that thing. It's an amazing concept, right? But it's relevant to what we're going to talk about today. Synaptic pruning. What is it? Use it or lose it. Guys, your brain has incredible qualities. Okay? Absolutely incredible qualities. But whether you are a male or female, or I just don't want to go there, guys. Whether you're male or female, you've got 86 billion neurons, plus or minus a couple, inside your head. Doesn't matter. Male brain is bigger than the female brain. Nobody has a real good reason why, but it doesn't have any more neurons. It just is a little bit bigger on average. Okay. Every one of those 86 billion neurons can make up to 15,000 connections that we know of. That produces quintillions of connections of the possible, but you don't make them all. That's the potential. We live far beyond or far beneath the potential of the capacity of our brain to make connections, to do computations, to do unimaginable things we can't even imagine. The capability is there. We just haven't figured out how to do it. That's an interesting paradox in evolution. Why have we, quote unquote, evolved something that is so far beyond our ability to use? Interesting thought. I'll leave it right there. But it's a fact. And managing trillions of cells simultaneously in our subconscious, in an unconscious act of amazing, almost incomprehensible, our brain subconsciously manages the health, the actual health of trillions of individual cells and is aware of what's happening in each one of those cells. And it monitors levels, and it moves resources around, and it changes salinity, and it changes acidity, and it changes chemical compounds based on what is happening or what it perceives needs to happen. Babies are born with 41% more neurons. Okay? They're born with more neurons than adults. Now, adults have got far more skill than a baby, far more, but they have less neurons. Why? Because there's something called synaptic prunings. There's a process that winnows down to this 86 billion, which is what everybody winds up with, but there's a greater potential when they're born. So why do we not retain all of them? Because we tend to not use them. It's called synaptic pruning. Use it or lose it. Now, babies will use a lot of that, but they don't use it. It isn't challenged enough to hold on to more. It's just the way that it works. We tend to abandon resources and specialize. As you start the learning process, you start focusing on certain things, and you start to abandon the excess capacity because you're focusing on certain things that seem to be important. All right. So let's address this question. Who am I? And this is not going to go where you might think it's going to go, because I certainly wasn't implementing that I'm going to answer that question. That's a whole different discussion. But in this context, you are a manifestation of what you believe. Okay? That's in this context, that's what I'm talking about. The beliefs that you attain, the beliefs that you adopt, become a manifestation of you, and it is limited to those beliefs. All right. If you believe that you can be, quote, happy, or you deserve to be happy, you'll be happy. If you don't believe that you deserve to be happy or that you can be happy, you won't be happy. Believing in a simplistic form is a choice, guys. You're always going to have options to choose from, and what you believe will shape the limitations that you wind up with. You've got a subconscious database that is full of these beliefs. You collect them over time, and these beliefs you're perceived as for your benefit. Okay, you adopt things that you perceive as your benefit. Why? Because it's survival. Your base value is to survive, and you adopt beliefs based on how they fit in your perception of this is what I need to survive. There's no morality. The psychologists say that in your subconscious brain, there is no right or wrong. There's no perception of right or wrong. It's simply, does it serve me? Is this something I need for survival? If it is, it's right. So the subconscious doesn't do right and wrong. It's all right. If it's in there, it's there because it believes it's right. It serves some need for survival. Okay? Even if it's wrong. Again, there's no moral judgment in your subconscious. It's just right for you. So is it a good thing? Or is it a bad thing? That is left up to how you experience it and whether or not it does anything for you. On a conscious level, you could say, I want to have a happy marriage. On a subconscious level, you may have a belief that says, yeah, but my parents and my grandparents and my friends, they all fought, they got divorced, or they were miserable. What's going to manifest? The conscious, yes, I want to have a happy marriage. Or the subconscious that goes, no, we don't do that. It's not right or wrong. It's just we don't do that. You know, I happened to my parents, my grandparents, my friends. That's just what happens. You know, they were happy for a while, but they fought, they got divorced. And so if you believe that, if you accept that, then your conscious can't change it. The conscience can move it around like a bungee cord. It can pay lip service to it. It can pay obeisance to it. It can make the effort, but in the end, it can't follow through because the subconscious goes, yeah, that's nice, that's cute, but we don't do that. The conscious says, I don't want that. I hated that. But the subconscious goes, yeah, no, but that's what's normal for me. That's what I have to accept. You know, who I am. That's just who I am. I'm always going to be that way. Okay. That's the way I always was. If that's the subconscious belief, Then the conscious saying, I don't want to do that. I hate that. Well, that's fine. That's cute. Be nice, but then move out of the way. The grown-ups are in the room now. The subconscious takes over. It's just the way it works. But, and up until, I don't know, I believe it was somewhere in the 80s where neuroplasticity really started to emerge, because up until that point, psychiatrists, psychologists, the quote science, honestly believed that once you were past about 8 or 10 years old, those perceptions were rooted in your subconscious and you couldn't get them out. Why do they think that? Because the psychologist couldn't get them out. So they thought, well, you can't get them out. We can't get them out, so they can't be gotten out. They can't be changed. That was the belief. It was welded into your psyche. Those things are immutable now. You'll have them for the rest of your life. The thing is, there's some truth to that, but it's not an absolute truth. But we just didn't know. Maxwell Maltz, the famous plastic surgeon, who changed, not during his lifetime, not completely, but after he had passed away, his influence changed the entire psychological world, the study of psychology, because he proved that no, you can change it. You change the perception, you can change the subconscious belief. His research slowly has changed the whole field around of behavioral science. And now we've got incredible things like electron microscopes that can actually document the process that he was alluding to. I hope this works. I think it will. You're going to have to give me some feedback. I want you to see this video, but here's the deal. Neuroplasticity, it's real, folks. Thank goodness, because it takes away all of our excuses. So maybe that's not a good thing, but it literally does. It definitely illustrates that our ability within the confines of our brain, our ability includes the ability to change, to make adaptations and to change core beliefs. In my mind, it's a glimpse into the infinite. So I'm going to play this video. Oh, come on. Did it not translate over? I got the picture, but I don't have the... Electron microscopes can actually film belief patterns changing. They can stimulate and give a change of reality to people, to where something they believed, that could be a simple thing, something they believed one way, they can show them something that shows that it's different than that. And as they accept that, they can film how all these connections in the neurons release and reconfigure to the new belief. It's amazing. So this neuroplasticity is a phenomenal thing where you can change core beliefs. Now, there's some things you can't change, obviously. And that would be things like, let me get back right there. There you go. These mechanisms, breathing and moving blood around your circulatory system, those are kind of fixed, all right? They are the core level survival skills. And then you have a hierarchy of needs that go beyond that. Food and water, those are needs. But you don't die in 5 minutes from not having food or water. You can die in 5 minutes from not breathing or having your circulatory system stop. So you've got this hierarchy that starts to build down of the motivations, the sex, the procreation, that's right up there with food and water. It has to be. And it's different between men and women. Men have got roughly 20 times the level of testosterone that women do. And it leads to a very strong drive to procreate. Okay, women perceive that and selectively choose on a subconscious level who they're going to procreate with. It's also strong. It just is driven a different way. But these things are the motivators, the top motivators. Then beyond that, you would go to shelter, acceptance, purpose, all these different things, a hierarchy of things. And some of these things can be manipulated and changed, but the basic ones don't. You start with those basic ones, and then we find, where is it when the psychologist thought, well, once these perceptions are put in place, you don't change them. You can't change. Well, it turns out you can, a lot of them. And so we want to look at the ones that we can change. Why? Because I don't know anybody that trades that doesn't translate some of their human experience of the frustrations that they have, the things that they wish that they would do differently, or that they could do better, or they would stop doing. I don't know anybody that trades that doesn't have things that they wish they could change. And so I want to talk to you about this process and have you kind of appreciate it a little bit, because you can apply this to everything in your life, not just trading. So that's why we'll get around to connecting this up with trading. But please just see if you can gain something out of what we're talking about here, and then we'll apply it. We'll apply it to trading. You can apply it to your life, and you apply it to anything. And I hope you do. Okay? Motion is action. It's in the pursuit of a reward. Now, that reward could be something that is yummy, or that reward could be not being killed by this dangerous animal that's chasing me. But dopamine is a driver. It's a driver towards some reward, to an objective. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Okay? Clear back, I mean, way back in the 60s, there was an experiment done where they were looking at the impact of dopamine, as it was a fairly new thing that they were isolating. And they found out where the brain stimulated dopamine. Okay, you got an amygdala, and you've got a hippocampus, two little organs in the brain that produce all of the hormones, including the feel-good hormones. This is one of them. And they found out when they could stimulate the dopamine, they could create this anticipatory buzz. It was a you hit the button and they got a hit, like a drug hit of dopamine. And they would associate it with something. And what they could do is they could measure that when a mouse, for example, saw food that it liked, dopamine would start to surge. It hadn't got the food yet, it wanted the food. And the dopamine was like being rewarded before you get the prize. They were feeling the joy and the emotion that they were going to have, the taste that they were going to have of that favorite food before they ever got to the food. And it drove them crazy. When they figured out they could do this, they connected up the dopamine receptors that are connected with sex, okay, procreation, sex, and they connected it so that when the mouse hit a certain button, hit a pad, it would give them a hit. And the mice would sit there and hit that, and hit that, and hit that, and hit that, and hit that. And when it was time to eat, they'd forget to eat because they were getting that dopamine hit. They hadn't got what they were looking for. They were getting the hit that it was coming, the anticipation. And they found that mice would sit there in some cases and hit it until they starved to death. And they went, how is this possible? Is it that powerful? Yes, it's survival. So they thought, well, I wonder if you could de-incentivize. So they put a little mat there in front of the button, and they ran a little electrical current. So when the mouse is sitting there hitting the button, they start electrocuting it slightly, giving a little buzz. And the mouse would kind of not be a little irritated, but it would keep hitting the button, and they could measure, it would create more dopamine to drown out the fact that its little feet were getting buzzed with a little electrical. They went, wow, let's turn it up. Guys, they turned it all the way up to where they electrocuted the freaking mouse. And it was sitting there as it was dying, hitting that freaking button. Okay? These things that drive our subconscious, our emotion, are incredibly powerful. In fact, some cases, the dopamine rush is better than the actual thing that they're anticipating. When you get to the thing, it's almost a letdown. There's like okay, now what? Now, guys, here's an application in your life, all right? Don't stand on electrical mats while you're, okay, no, that's not it. That's not it. I'm just kidding. But here's the application. How many of you have had the sensation of setting up a New Year's resolution and failing at it? Everybody, raise your hand. Okay. The point is, when we set an expectation, when we set a goal sometimes, and we're excited about getting that goal, that push towards it can be counterproductive, because when we actually get it, the payoff isn't as good as the struggle or the journey to get there. Okay, so there's some things that we can do to make, and I've alluded to it again here, but there's some things we can do that will help you anticipate or help you make sure that when you reach a goal, there isn't a letdown, that it's not a letdown. Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right, from infancy, guys, we have built-in programs to survive. We start with breathing and circulation. Those are givens. We start with 2 native fears, falling and loud noises. Every other fear that you have in your life was learned. Nobody is born that we've been able to find out, we, meaning the scientific world, has not been able to find any other fears that are native, that you're born with. The only 2, and everybody's got them, is falling and loud noise. Okay, the rest of it's an empty canvas, sort of. You know, you can build on that. But we have breathing and circulation built in. We have 2 fears. Everything else is a process of adopting, a slow transition of adopting these things that go into the way we process and the way we cope with the world around us. And they become the way we meet our needs, our perceived needs. Now we have wants and we have needs. Needs is breathing and eating. Okay, those are needs. Got to have it. Procreating. Those are at the same level. Wants, there are a lot of things we want that we don't get, but needs are the things that we get no matter what. Somehow, some way, we're going to get them. And in the process, we select beliefs and we build our own world. We build our own Archean galaxy. Okay, we build our own Archean world, our Archean galaxy. And then we use those beliefs and we live by them. And that's just the way life goes. And sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's not, but it is directly connected to what we have accepted or what we believe. Here's my feeling on that. When we live within the confines of our beliefs, we're limited. Is that a bad thing? No, I think that can be a wonderful thing. Don't you? There are things that I have passed on to my kids as beliefs that I want them to be limited by. Okay, you cannot jump off of a 5-story building into a pile of rocks and survive it. I want you to believe that. I want that to limit your behavior. I don't want any of your friends to go, dude, you could do it. I know you could do it. Just give it a try. I'll give you $100. I dare you. You know, I want my kids to believe that. I want them to be limited by that. But there's other limits that are not good. We've got a genetic predisposition that comes with our package. Okay. Now, I said the beliefs we learn. That's true. The limits we learn. That's true. But genetically, we all have different gifts or potentials that are written into our DNA. Some people have got physical characteristics that will give them opportunity that others won't have, just because they have the genetic lottery ticket for that. Others will be mathematically inclined. Others will be musically inclined. Yes, you can learn math and music just because you're interested in it, but some people have genetic predispositions. That's an absolute fact. Prodigies are not accidental. Okay, they're not just because somebody decided, I think I'm going to learn this. Okay, some people have those gifts, and it starts with the differences between male and female. There are inherent genetic differences, and I don't want to get into arguments because I don't have to. It's proven. It's absolute proven. The fact that sociologists are fighting with science over it doesn't bother me at all. I think it irritates me, but it doesn't change or threaten anything. The science is the science. What I know is what I know, but sociologists are going, yeah, but we think it ought to be different, and therefore screw the science and believe this now, just because we think it's a good thing. Okay, fine. Set that aside. Our expressions of these predispositions, these talents, these gifts, these interests that we have, they can and they are influenced by what? By others around us, people who tell us to believe, help us believe and understand, or people who tell us we're garbage and we shouldn't believe. Our environments. You could be born into an environment that just simply limits your ability to express those talents or gifts that are inherently that you were born with. Those are limits for sure. But in the growing process, we establish and we accept limits based on boundaries that we believe. I mean, the Maxwell Maltz, one of the amazing experiments that he did, guys, was he took and he looked at horses. Does anybody have horses? Because I want to know, I want others to verify this, just because it's an easy thing to do. Does anybody out there have horses? Well, I'm waiting for an answer. If you have horses and you have a corral, or if you have a pasture, you will have a beaten path all the way around the fence line, a place where grass can't grow, and it's about 6 or 8 inches wide because the horse hoofs keep killing the grass as they walk around, and they're establishing the fence line. They're establishing the boundaries. And what Maxwell Maltz did was he had somebody get on a horse and just sit there with reins so they can turn them left or right, but they would ride the horse and let the horse go around the edges of the fence. And then they would experiment by opening one of the corners of the fence, take the fence out. The horse would go right to the corner and turn right. If it always turned right, it went right past the opening. Hey, the fence is open. Yeah, okay, but we go right. Yeah, but you could go left. No, we go right. That's who we are. That's what we do. We do it every day, 12 times, 15 times. And when they get to that spot, he would say, okay, just give the horse a slight nudge to the left where the gate's open or where the fence is open. Slight nudge, horse still turned right. Okay, give it a little stronger nudge. Little stronger nudge, the horse stopped. It just stopped. Didn't turn left or right. It was confused. Well, wait a minute. We normally turn right here. How come you're pushing me the other way? The idea that the fence was open didn't seem to even dawn on it. So push harder with the reins to the left. And it forced the horse to go through the gate. Next time around, the horse would come and it would stop. Are we going left or right? I'm confused. I normally go right. You made me go left last time. I don't know what are we supposed to do? Make it go left again. Then after a few more times, you get down there, the horse goes left through the open gate. That's the neuroplasticity, but it takes an influence, an outside influence, to convince that it's okay to let go of that belief and do something different. Guys, doesn't that apply to your life? Isn't there things that you feel stuck with, that you try and you cannot change? You want to change? Can you apply that to trading? I know I shouldn't do that. How come I did it again? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Right? Or why did I do it again? Or why didn't I do it? I knew I should have done it. Guys, how many times, I call it the flat forehead or the red forehead syndrome. How many times have you smacked yourself on the forehead with your palm going, dang, I knew I should have done that. I knew I should have done it. Or why did I do that again? Okay. The thing is, you do know, but something subconsciously overrode that, and changing that by yourself is very difficult. It's very difficult. Jennifer says, sounds like a bird in a cage. If they haven't flown before, they're let out of the cage. Sometimes they don't even fly. That's right. And the experiment with fleas, Jennifer, is just as profound, where they put a saran wrap, an invisible saran wrap over top of the flea encounter. The fleas could, jump several feet in the air, but they put it at about 15 inches, 16 inches. And every time the fleas would jump, they would hit the invisible barrier. After a while, they didn't jump. Or if they did, they never jumped higher than 16 inches because they came to believe, well, I can't do that, right? So guys, these are things that challenge us. And do they follow us into the world of trading? They do, because how you do anything is how you do everything. But it doesn't have to stay that way. That's the point. Our expressions of those talents can and are influenced by others and environments. True. In growing, however, we establish and we accept limits and boundaries. Our talents may be encouraged to be developed, or they may be stifled. Our expectations may be nurtured, or they may be crushed or curtailed. But it doesn't change the potential. It just changes our current reality. Now, here's some very poignant anecdotes. I love this. Henry Ford said, if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. That's beautiful. So simple, but so profound. As a man thinketh, so is he. Okay, there's all kinds of permutations that wise people have come up with. I love the story of the ugly duckling. There's nothing ugly about ducks. It's just a swan doesn't look like a duck, and the ducks thought it was ugly. The ducks were really good ducks. The swan was a lousy duck. But when the swan found out it was a swan, it became a great swan. It's just different. And it didn't know, because when it didn't know, it was limited. Essentially, our limitations in life are self-imposed and self-maintained. It says RL in there because that's the quote. That's from Ryan Litchfield. Okay, that's something I came up with, but I believe it. It's just my little expression of these same sentiments. Our limitations in life are self-imposed. How? Because we believed it. And they're self-maintained. Why? Because we still believe them. But are they true? Maybe, maybe not. But as long as you believe it, those are your limits. You are what you believe that you are. But rarely are you who you could be. Who knows? Just, you can just raise a hand or say yes. Just type in a yes or a Y or something. Who knows what the 40% rule is for Navy SEALs? Navy SEALs came up with this. I'm sure they're not the first people in the world to have experienced it, but they came up with this. Adam says no. Okay. Anybody? No? Yes? Does anybody know about the 40% rule? Okay. If you get nothing out of this today, this will be worth your whole time, in my opinion. Okay. Nobody else is responding, so I'm assuming, well, there's a few more no's. Okay, good. What the Navy SEALs say, when you reach the point that you think you can't go any farther, you're about 40% there. You're not quite at 50%. Now, who has run a race or has run or lifted weights and reached a point where you just couldn't go any farther? I can't go any farther. I can't. And you see people, you know, portrayed in movies and video clips. They're going, I can't, and they're crying. I mean, grown men sometimes, I can't go any farther. I can't go any farther. Okay. And as a result, they can't. The Navy SEALs would say, baloney, bullcrap. You're not even quite 50% as far as you can go. No, I'm there. I can't do it anymore. I just can't. Yeah, BS. Why? Because they know better. How do they know better? Because somebody pushed them past and they go, oh, wow. Let me prove it to you. I can't. I just can't. I can't. And while tears are streaming down the eye, and the person say, I can't go any farther. They look over and they see their mother. They see their child. They see their spouse about to be brutalized. And somehow, some way, they come out of that situation with this amazing blast of energy. 1 second before that, I can't, I just can't. No matter how much somebody's yelling at them, yes, you can, come on, do it. No, I can't. They look over and they see that situation and suddenly they can. Okay. So why? Well, because remember, our subconscious brain is trying to protect us. Our subconscious brain can add 3 and 3 and get 6. We don't have to be the 6. It can see a 3 over here and a 3 over here coming together. It goes, I know that's going to be a 6. If it sees I'm running out of oxygen, I can't pump blood fast enough to get oxygen at this rate. It will let you go so far, and then your brain will send a signal, stop. Why? Because it says, it's reasoning is very brilliant. It says, I can do the math. If you keep doing this in a few more seconds or another minute, we are going to be threatening to die because our circulation system will not be able to get enough air. And so I'm stopping you right now before you do permanent damage or before it gets really bad. So are you really done? Are you really as far as you could go? The answer is no. But your brain is saying, I got to protect you. That's not the reality. But if you believe that, you're done. You'll drop the weight. You'll give up. You'll drop your hands. You'll go, I give up. I can't. I just can't go any farther. Okay. You'll stop the race. You'll walk away in shame. It's baloney. It's baloney. Jennifer says world records keep getting broken. Exactly. And you know why? Because when somebody sets a world record, they make it okay to go where nobody else went. Well, nobody else has done it, but they did. She did. He did. Well, man, if they can do it, I'll bet you I could do it. Prior to that, nobody can do it until they did. All right. So it's impossible until it isn't. Okay. But that's the truth, guys. It's a truth. When you think you can't, just recognize that it's your brain trying to shut you down. You're not really in trouble yet. You're not going to die, but it's looking way ahead saying, at this rate, you could cause serious damage. So I'm going to shut you down now because my job is to protect this physiology, this entity. And your conscious, your spirit, however you want to call it, I don't care. But that part has got to be able to say yes or no. I accept that. I'll do whatever you tell me, brain. You see, you say the body's tired and it says, okay, I give up. Or you can say, baloney, get back in there. Get back in there. Put the saddle back on. We're not done. And that's what the Navy SEALs have learned, to go to that point and know that it's okay to keep going. I'm not going to die. My brain says, forget that. And after a while, your brain gives up and says, okay, I get it now. You're going to take me farther than I want to go. It is dangerous, but you always stop before we actually die. All right, I'll let you go a little farther. And that's what happens. Now these people can go farther. And while you're running right with them, you're going, I'm just in good a shape, and you're dying, you want to quit, and they keep going. You're going, well, I don't get it. Where's that coming from? Are they in better shape? No, they're not in better shape. It's just their brain is now kicking in more resources and saying, no, we're not done. We can keep going. We're fine. Let's go. Yeah, it hurts. Big deal. Let's go. Whereas your brain is going, panic, 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 panic. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. You got to stop. You got to stop. No. But if you believe it, it's real. Okay. I will not give you the details, but I want to give you just something personal that happened yesterday. And I had an experience with my wife where there was a limiting belief. And neither one of us had really gone there to explore this, but it was limiting. And it was causing a physiological response, emotional response. And suddenly it clicked, the analogy clicked. And I said, well, wait, Cindy, that's because of this. And she looked at me and she started to cry. And she goes, I never even thought that was, are you kidding me? And guys, a physical condition with a heart racing and on the edge of an anxiety, that's a physical manifestation of what was happening. Stopped. I just snapped my fingers. Stopped like that. And she went, oh my. And that realization unwound. And since yesterday, she's had 2 more times where that input, that stimulus, has started to try to run that loop in her subconscious. And she went, wait a minute. No, that's not true. That's because it's happening because of this. And with that understanding, now in her neuroplasticity, her neurons are rewiring the response to something that she's had the same response to for decades. Whereas would that it would all be that simple, right? It's not, but it's true. I swear to you, it's true. And she, I've seen it with her now 3 times since in the last 24 hours. And she just feels completely relieved of this because she had never seen it from that perspective. And that perspective changed her reality. And her subconscious went, oh, well, if that's all right, well, if that's the case, really? And she can override that stimulus. When the stimulus comes in, it starts to run the loop and she shuts it down. It's not over. It's reprogramming. And as the more time she does that, the connections are going to be just like the horse turning left out of the open gate, which was there all the time. In this case, it was there all the time. It just didn't know that that was okay. Now that it's okay, it doesn't have the control that it used to have. Okay. Charles says, hey, Ryan, this is like your analogy of the two guys in the snowmobiles on the side of the mountain that could go a little higher. Yeah. So this is going back just a little bit about breaking the records that Jennifer had talked about. I've used the analogy that Charles is referring to as when I snowmobiled, there's something called high marking. And it's a male kind of driven, I can do better than you type of, it's a competitive thing. And you take your snowmobile and you run up this face, and it gets steeper and steeper. And you can tell intuitively, oh my gosh, I'm slowing down. I can't keep going straight up. If I don't turn right now, it's going to stop. And then we're going to roll backward down the hill. And at that point, if you can hit it just right, you hit the throttle as hard as you can and you lean and you drive around the corner, and pretty soon you're going down the hill with a big grin on your face. And then you get to the bottom, you look back up and you see your mark on that fresh snow. It's beautiful. And all of your buddies are going, that was awesome. That was awesome. And you know what else they're thinking? I can do better than that. Because you've just set a mark, and they're going, well, if Ryan could do it, shoot, I'm better than he is. And so the next guy will go up, and that next person will go up, and they will push themselves farther than they would have otherwise, because you just opened the vision. You just opened the possibility. And so their own limits are going to be overridden by their desire to beat you, to prove that they're smarter, better, and more courageous than you are, right? All right, real quickly, and this is some good stuff here I want to cover. When gurus and motivators, they get a lot of crap, but there's an interesting thing going on. People can be motivated to act differently. They truly can. The problem is, does it make permanent change? And the knock on gurus and motivators is a lot of times it doesn't. It's like throwing a styrofoam ball really hard down in the water. It goes down, but it reaches an equilibrium, and then it pops back up to the surface again. But that being said, great speeches have started and ended, for that matter, wars. I mean, just great communication has ended wars. It's also started wars. Diet and exercise programs, guys, make billions of dollars, not because they work very well, but because they're really good at marketing campaigns. They can motivate people to spend money. May or may not lose weight, but they can definitely motivate them to take action. Okay, so they can change and motivate. Marketing, guys, has been on the forefront of behavior modification from way before psychology ever figured it out. It's natural. People have been doing it for thousands of years, because somebody figures out, if I say it a certain way, I can create an action. They didn't know about how the brain works. They didn't know about neurons and connections and hormone responses and dopamine. They didn't need to. They saw cause and effect. That's real simple. They saw cause, I do this, I get that. I like that. All right. So they strive to create an action and then keep repeating it. It's just like, from a marketing standpoint, you sell the virtue of this cereal, all the things. It's pretty, it's shiny, it has a leprechaun, and it has honey in it, and da. But then you dump enough sugar in it to make sure it's addictive. I mean, that's the bottom line with a lot of marketing, right? It's just they use words and images to try to motivate. And at that point, so because of that, it proves a point. It doesn't mean that it's good or you can trust it. You have to make hard decisions. And I love this analogy. I shared this with you once before, guys, but this is powerful. As you make decisions, as you make choices, you got to be careful. Marriage is hard. Some people quit because it's hard. And then they find out divorce is also hard. I believe harder. Okay. But I don't know. I haven't gone there. But my observation is, marriage is hard, but divorce is harder. There's an amazing study that was done that I've read, where people who had been married for a third time, in other words, they'd been divorced twice, by the time they got to the third time, almost 80%, 75% said, I should have stuck with the first one and worked it out. That's huge. 8 out of 10, after trying it, on the third time, they're going, I should have just stuck it out with the first one. Yeah, it was hard. Because it was hard, I quit. And I found out that didn't make it easier, right? Obesity is hard. But being fit is also hard. Okay? Being in debt is hard. Learning to be financially disciplined is hard. Communication is hard. Yes, it's challenging, but not communicating is also hard. Trading well, learning to trade well is hard. It takes money and practice, and you have to learn how to change some things in you that are not easy. But trading well is also hard work. Okay? So trading well is difficult. Not trading well is also difficult. So life never going to be easy. You'll always have hard choices. You get to choose. Choose your hard. And it's a bottom line, guys. You choose your hard. But we tend to do it based on what we think we can do. And the challenge, this is another anecdote. I love this. Here's a little history. During the War of 1812, the United States Navy defeated the British Navy in the Battle of Lake Erie. The Commandant Oliver Perry wrote to the Major General William Henry Harrison, "We have met the enemy and they are ours." In 1979, Walt Kelly, the author or the writer of this very prescient comic series called Pogo, paraphrased that. And this was written for Earth Day with this was his cartoon for that day. And he says, "We have met the enemy and they are us." I like that little twist. That's profound. Guys, we are our own challenge. A very wise man said, "We are each other's clinical material." As we interact with one another, we are each other's clinical material, and we create, our own world of challenge by the people we associate with, including us. So when you recognize that you're up against a formidable foe, that's a good thing. That you recognize what you're up against. And what you're up against, guys, what we're all up against, they can serve us or they can crush us. And you can change. You can change the beliefs. You can change your knowledge, your skill level. That brain plasticity allows you to do things that psychologists, psychiatrists used to think was impossible. But it is. Your limits, for the most part, are self-imposed because you believe them. They're self-maintained if you continue to believe them. So what should you do? What should you be? What should you have? What should you give? If you had no limits, what would you do? What would you be? What would you have? What would you give if you had no limits? And then just change. Just go do it. It's simple. It is simple. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it can be done. It's a matter of learning how to change beliefs. Now, when you go about this, guys, this is like a hurricane. There's two safe places in a hurricane. Okay? There's two safe places in a hurricane. Where are they? Somebody tell me. You probably heard me say it before. Somebody tell me, where are the two safe places in a hurricane? By the way, there's only two. In the eye, and where's the other safe place? On the outside, Jennifer. Yeah, as far away as you can get. All right. There's two safe places. Anywhere in between, you're going to get trashed. Okay. And that's the reality. You're going to get trashed. So here's how you can make change, guys. And I'll cover these last ones in the last couple minutes here real quick. Habit stacking. Instead of trying to bite off too much, as people do with New Year's resolutions, try a set of small steps. Say, I'm going to start with this. And I'll do this every day for a week. Then I'm going to do this plus this, and I'll add it. It's called habit stacking. It actually is very proven, works very well. I'll make this little change. When I've got that, I'll add this one to it. Then I'll add that one to it. And it builds on success. Or you take massive action. Okay? Either one or the other. You can't be in between, or you're going to wind up just repeating your frustrations of the past. Massive action means that you commit, you are all in, you're going to make huge change. You set in place, I would strongly suggest you set in place accountability, somebody to beat you with a stick or some consequence that helps, because it's when you make a big commitment like that, you are going against yourself. You are going against your programming, your beliefs. You're going to go against what your brain is going to perceive as survival, what it needs to, who its definition of who it is and what it's supposed to do. You're going to change that. Well, it can be done, but it's got to be massive. This is done in the military all the time and in other environments where you just get a sudden throw in the river and you start swimming and somebody's there yelling at you and smacking you on the head, pushing you in the back, saying, go, 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 go. And they push you past, and you can make those changes. But guys, in between, it's kind of doomed. So either take it in bite-sized chunks and build on success, or pull all the guns and go with a massive. But just sitting there in the middle, it's just like putting a quarter or 2 quarters or $1, whatever it takes, into a paid dryer and climbing in. Okay, a clothes dryer. You put in your $1 and you climb in, and somebody hits the button. It's no fun. It's no fun. There's 2 more things to think about, and this is how you can use emotions. Feel your way into acting, or act your way into feeling. It literally works either way, and it's fantastic. The famous experiment with the basketball players, where certain 1/3 of the basketball players practiced every day for so many hours. The other third practiced, but without a ball. They went on the court and they walked through and they pretended to dribble, and they visualized making the basket. They visualized the opposition. And then the third group, who did nothing except visualize in their mind. They didn't walk on the court. They didn't pretend they had a basketball. They just visualized it in their mind. At the end of the experiment, they found out that the people who visualized had just as much improvement as the ones who had been on the court actually with the ball, or the ones who had visualized with the ball. The visualization produced just as good a results as the physical. So if you can feel, if you can imagine, you can create action. You can create a change in action, change in ability. How about this? You flip it around. You say, I don't feel like doing this. Okay, I get that. Now get your butt off of the couch. What? Come on. And somebody grabs you and they get you out. And then after you've run for about 2 minutes, you're going, oh, I feel great. Thanks, man, for getting me off the couch. You wouldn't have done it yourself. You know, the fake it till you make it. You actually go out and do it. It'll change the way you feel. And it feeds on itself, guys. It feeds on itself. It literally works. So let's wrap this up in trading. Establish your objective. What is it that you are trying to do? I want to not do this. I want to start doing this. Whatever the condition is that you want to achieve, think of it that way, as a condition, not a destination. A destination, it can be problematic. You get there and you go, now what? Okay. But you have a condition. I want to obtain this objective so that I can do this. And with that, I'm going to do that. So that, with that, those are the 2 most important phrases. It's 4 words to make goals work, or objectives work. I'm going to do this so that I can do this. And with that, I'll be able to do this. That works in your brain. It makes it much easier. Stacking habits, repetition, attaching emotions to the condition and the process that you're trying to accomplish. Change your state. Guys, when you are trading, if you're sitting at home, whenever you're at a computer, you got to recognize that you get into a state. You can change that state by standing up, exercise, stand up, do some jumping jacks, go out, take a walk, take a 5-minute walk, go walk the dog, do something that changes your mind, changes your state, then come back in. Verbalizing, huge. You guys have heard me talk about this. You verbalize whatever before you ever make a trade, before you ever do anything that would entail pushing a button on a computer on a decision. You verbalize, okay, I'm going to do this because, and you list it off. And you can say, oh, that's silly. I'm talking to myself. Exactly. You're talking to yourself. And when you verbalize, if there's anything wrong with what you're doing, you'll hear it. Your subconscious is really good at picking out BS, even with yourself. If you go put words to it and it doesn't work, don't do it. Yeah, but it made sense when I was thinking about it. And exactly. And when you said it out loud, it didn't make sense. Trust that one. That's the rational side of your brain going, no, boy, you almost stepped in a big steaming pile of doo-doo in the barnyard. Man, I'm glad you said something, because I was just about ready to hit that button. Tripod trading. You're going to hear more about this. I won't go into this here, guys, but it's an accountability process that can serve you very, very well. Now, important, go easy on yourself. This is not an easy thing to do. Change is incredibly difficult. Okay? This has not been solved in eons as a group collectively, but it's something you can do something about. You're living your story, which is what you believe. Who wrote it? Who wrote your story? Well, you can blame all of the circumstances around you and the people that did you wrong and where you were born and what color you are or what sex you are. You can blame whatever you want to blame. But if it's your story, it's because you accepted it. Is it true? I don't know. If it is, and you like it, great. If you realize it isn't, then you can change. You can change your story. You don't have to believe it. But there's process. There's process to make that change. It's not hard. It's not easy. but it's not impossible. Repetition is the mother of skill. Repetition is how you came to believe it. Repetition is how you will let go of it. Okay? It's the same way. And the more you repeat the right action or the different action, the more it becomes the right action to your subconscious. Whether it's trauma or whether it's conditioned. In other words, you may change because you step on a sharp rock, or you may touch a hot stove. That'll change a perception. Or if it's something that you had to work at and condition. Either way, if it's repeated, it'll stick. And guys, that's all I got for you today. This is stuff that you can use in every part of your life, especially including your trading, because your trading connects with all of your emotions. It connects with all of the weaknesses that you have in your subconscious. In fact, it triggers them. It puts you up against your own belief system. And you've got to recognize that, because otherwise we tend to beat ourselves up and punish ourselves and judge ourselves unfairly. All right. God bless. Have yourself a great time. Tripod trading, Jennifer says. What about that? Well, that's another time. And you'll be actually getting some more material on that pretty quick. Okay. Helen said, I just got a dopamine rush again, which is good. That's the anticipatory hormone of seeking something that is good. And so, Helen, keep on that pursuit, my dear. Thank you very much. All right. Take care, guys. God bless. Have yourself a great day. Bye.